Hello my viewers, welcome back to part 2 of the Scrolling Multichoices tutorial. Part 1 covered Pokemon Emerald's existing multi-choices, and this part will show us how to make them possible in Pokemon FireRed. Before we begin, I have a couple of reminders. First of all, remember to make regular backups of your ROM. And also, this tutorial assumes that you're using the 1.0 version of FireRed and not the 1.1 version. Also, stuff like the complete FireRed upgrade or CFRU isn't supported either. Other than that, let's get back to business. Let's completely switch gears and talk about scrolling multi-choices in FireRed. So, there is a tutorial on PokeCommunity by Blah that covers inserting the feature into the ROM. I am going to make some adaptations to hopefully make this process more streamlined. So I'm going to scroll down a bit and notice this code. Let's copy this code starting from main. You will have to scroll all the way down to the bottom where it says box properties and then this word directive. Right click and click copy. And back in HMA with FireRed loaded, I'm going to the free space finder. I think 70 bytes of free space is enough to find an address. And HMA decided that this address 71A480 is where I'm going to insert the code. In the code tool on the left, be sure the code type is set to thumb, and once that's taken care of, you can paste the code. Now hold on, there's one thing that needs to be adjusted. Down in this table field, there is this word that needs to be changed, and it needs to be another address in free space. So I'll pick a couple rows down and pick this round number of 71A500. While we're at it, we can also get rid of this align to instruction. I'll catch you guys up to speed on exactly what we're doing, but I'm going to follow through with some more instructions first. As per the guide, once you have the thumb code inserted, go to the address CB94C and insert 4 bytes and a pointer. This is where I'll start to deviate a tiny bit. I will first type 00490847, but then I'll type a less than sign, the address that has the thumb code, +1, and then a greater than sign. For more information on inserting thumb code, you can check out these tutorials right here. So I'm going to need to explain the data structures we're working with. At the top of the hierarchy, there is the Scrolling Multichoice table itself. It contains multiple groups represented by pointers, and each group contains many options, which are pointers to text. There is a visual infographic that the tutorial provides, but I don't particularly find it aesthetically pleasing. The top red text is the table itself, the middle row of red text contains pointers to text, and the bottom set of red bytes are the text strings themselves. Alright, I'm back in the thumb code. To refresh the code in the Hex content viewer, I'm just going to change this R0 to an R1 and then back to R0. And now I can show you the pointer I wanted to show you. This pointer right here will point to the multi-choice table, which we haven't set up yet. And we're going to give it a name, such as scripts.text.scrolling.multichoice, which is the name that's in Pokemon Emerald. Now the table is currently empty, so I'm going to add a null pointer, so that we have at least something to work with. Oh my god! I'm gonna have to retype the name of the table due to a bug. Now we need to give this table some formatting. Start with a left bracket to indicate a table, and then type group, and these two signs to indicate a pointer. I will put a 1 in the end to indicate one element in this table, and then I will finish the formatting with a right bracket. Now on its own, we defined a table of pointers, but HMA doesn't know what the pointers inside mean. We will need to specify some formatting so that HMA knows what to do whenever we want to make more multi-choices or edit text strings. In between these pointer symbols, start by pressing a left bracket so that the groups are pointers to tables. Then type option, and then another group of pointer symbols, and then put a pair of double quotes in between the angle brackets. Then close off the table with a right bracket. Lastly, immediately after, type an exclamation point and 8 Fs. This basically lets different multi-choice groups have different numbers of options. Now going back to the hierarchy, this over here is the top, which is just the multi-choice table itself. it currently has one pointer to nothing, and then inside these outer brackets, each group is going to be a pointer to another table, and this table will have an unknown number of pointers to text. Yeah, there are a lot of pointers, but hopefully once we get the formatting done, everything else will fall into place. On this null pointer, let's click Create New Data. So what just happened? HMA found a new address in free space, and this scrolling multi-choice slot has 0 options. We can change that though. Click on these 2 brackets over here and click Add One New. This for now will just create a null pointer. Next you can create new data and it will make an empty text string in free space. Now we can start constructing the options, so this first one just can be called Borneo. Unfortunately, the pointers and the text strings are going to look all over the place in HMA because of the amount of free space it automatically gives us. Anyways, let's click this text pointer again and click Add One New so that we can have 2 options. Alright, this gave us a duplicate Borneo pointer, so we're just going to click repoint this one so we have 2 unique text strings. I'm going to change the text to the Australian Outback. Let's add a third option. Let's click this group pointer up top. We can manually try to add a third pointer over here. Let's do address 71A609. Without having to click anything else, we can just type Africa with no questions asked. Why stop at 3 choices? We can add 10 more. Change this 1 and then add one new button to a 10, and HMA will add 10 more things. I was worried this was gonna happen. I'm pretty sure it's safe to proceed, so I'm just gonna press the ignore button and move on. Anyways, going back to here, we're going to have to click repoint in all on this text string so that changing Africa in one place doesn't change it anywhere else. Now we have one complete group of options in this multi-choice table. Once again, this top pointer points to this set of pointers, and each pointer here is a pointer to text, and all the text pointers are somewhere down below. Although all the strings are scattered about, the game doesn't really care. For this tutorial, I will make 2 multi-choice entries. Let's click Add One New to make the second one. Right away, we will need to click repoint this one so that we can specify different pointers to text. Now what we could do is repoint each string, but I have a better idea. Let's just delete these pointers and make our own. We will have to scroll down a little bit, but now you can see this null pointer followed by 2 brackets. Let's click Create New Data so that we have an empty string. We can give this another name. Why not start with Gunk Shot? Anyways, back in the table tool, I want this multi-choice group to have 9 options. So I'm going to use the same trick that will let me add 8 items at once. Remember to click repoint and all so that you can edit strings freely. What I can do next is right click this pointer that also has a blue circumflex, hover over the top option, and go to this address. Similar to what we did with the other multi-choice group, we can start changing these text strings directly in the table tool. In hindsight, maybe it would have been better if I implemented the scrolling multi-choices in FireRed first, so that we can cover editing them and using them at the same time as doing it for Emerald. But the infrastructures are different for both games, so it might have made the tutorial even more confusing if I grouped them together like that. What do you guys think? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Now we've finished tinkering around with the multi-choice table, let's start making some scripts. So my plan is to edit one NPC in Viridian City, so I'm just going to go to the maps and scroll up. Let's make this guy knowledgeable about old Survivor seasons. Let's first change the opening dialogue so that he asks what we want to know about a particular season of Survivor. Now, unlike in Emerald, these are the commands we're going to have to use to make a scrolling multi-choice show up. First, we need setvar 8000 and 0. I'm using 0 for the first group that we made. Secondly, we need setvar 8001 and the number of options you want the scrolling multi-choice to show. I'm using 13 for the first 13 seasons. Afterwards, you will always need setvar 8004 0. If this is set to any other number, the game will crash. It will also crash if you specify too many options than what's actually in the multi-choice table. So like if I put 14 in the previous line. Believe it or not, this is all the code you need to make the scrolling multi-choice show up in the game, save for putting a lock command after wait state. Testing in the game, he asks us the right question, and you have to press the A button to proceed. And look at that, here's the box in the top left corner and you can scroll through all 13 options. Due to how this is coded, they show up 4 at a time. Although we didn't program the scrolling multi-choice to do anything meaningful, there is one problem. If I click the final option, Cook Islands, nothing wrong happens. But if I click any other option, the multi-choice box stays when it shouldn't. To my surprise, it gets worse if you press the start button. We will fix this momentarily, but first I want to show you that you can limit the number of options by changing this 13 to a number lower, like 12. And the game will actually show the first 12 options instead of all 13. We can show off the second multi-choice menu as well, and ensure that only 9 options show up. You can pretty much mix and match these numbers, so to speak, on the fly, though I didn't bother changing the message box at the top. As you can see, I can scroll down to show you all 9 move names, and the box itself adapts its size to match the longest text string there is. Okay, now it's time for me to show you the last piece of the puzzle. It's just making some changes to fix the graphical glitches. Back in HMA, you will need to go to address CBB84. Typo. Okay, there we go. This is where we need to go. All you need to do is type 400 bytes. This will literally fix the problem. I just clicked Solar Blade and the multi-choice box disappeared as expected. Now there's one more thing I wanted to show you, which involves assigning different script sections to different choices, but this objective alone is already 11 minutes long. So as a compromise, I will flash the code on screen and show you the results. Setting up checks based on the different multi-choice options is done the same way as in the other tutorial. For brevity and without loss of generality, I only made this multi-choice work for the first 2 options. And that is everything about scrolling multi-choices in both FireRed and Emerald. We made it to the end.
You now know how to make your own scrolling multi-choices in Pokemon FireRed too. Admittedly, this is a lot of information to digest, and it's okay to rewatch parts of these videos in case you get stuck when making your own multi-choice script, especially if you came from the first part and started writing thumb code for the first time. That is a feat on its own, as working with thumb code has such a steep learning curve. I have a couple more tutorials I want to produce this month, so be on the lookout for those. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord, which is in the description. There are thousands of helpful and enthusiastic members that keep binary hacking going strong in 2026. If HMA crashes or shows a debug assert on your watch, you can post a bug report in our bug reports channel. Thank you all for watching, and let the tutorial end!